In 2019, a mechanic from Billings, Montana shared an image that caused a stir within Rust Belt circles. The photo revealed the undercarriage of a 1997 Chevy pickup 22 years old that had endured harsh winters on salted roads. The chassis appeared brand new, as if it had just come off the assembly line. There was no costly undercoating or professional application, only a thin, dark blue-black coating that few recognize. His trick set him back just $3. That amount bought a powder available at any supermarket. With that same $3, he mixed the powder with warm water in a plastic container. Brushing it onto rusty steel, he observed the rust actively convert into a lasting, water-resistant, paintable barrier. There was no need for sanding to bare metal, no grinding, and no specialized tools. And here's the unsettling truth. This isn't a recent innovation. The U.S. military applied precisely this chemical process to safeguard tanks, rifles, and landing vessels in World War II. The British Royal Navy had already recorded it back in the 1850s. 2 millennia ago, Roman soldiers were already treating their arms with this substance. Today, if you stroll into a hardware store and grab a bottle of rust converter, these bottles cost between $15 and $30 and sport bold marketing. Turn them over to check the safety data sheet, and you'll see that very compound identified as the main active ingredient. Its use wasn't discontinued due to poor performance. Instead, it was rebranded, priced 10 times higher, and carefully concealed so you wouldn't identify the source. Today, we're unlocking a treasure trove that links ancient Roman metalworkers with World War II combat zones and ties directly to that rusty truck frame in your driveway. By the time this video ends, you'll have complete knowledge of how to apply this age-old chemistry on your own, and it will cost you roughly what you'd spend on a coffee. Part 1. The Serendipitous Discovery in Ancient Rome. 14 centuries before the inauguration of any industrial plant, Roman hide tanners accidentally encountered something remarkable. They submerged untreated animal hides in water containing ground oak bark. That practice is tanning, the age-old method of converting rigid, decomposable skins into supple, lasting leather, and the term derives from tannum. Tannum means oak in Latin. Throughout the Roman Empire, every tannery employed huge stone tubs containing that dark, strong-smelling brown fluid. The odor was potent enough to overwhelm you from 50 steps away. Yet inside those vats, an inexplicable phenomenon consistently occurred, puzzling the leather workers. Any iron implement that inadvertently contacted the tanning liquid ceased to rust. Knives that would typically oxidize in the damp Roman climate within days remained pristine and sharp for months after just one immersion. When hapless apprentices let iron buckles fall into the vats, the items emerged with a slender, dark protective layer. This coating strongly repelled moisture and salty air. In antiquity, beneficial information spread quickly as survival was at stake. Tanners shared it with smiths, smiths passed it to armorers, and the armorers, seeing the battlefield benefit, related to military commanders. By the 2nd century, Roman soldiers were deliberately applying concentrated oak bark extracts to their iron armaments. They did so prior to embarking on extended campaigns into the wet, unfriendly woods of Gaul and Germania. Frontier garrison smiths would immerse chainmail in tannin solutions following each river fording and each downpour, and this is documented fact. Wooden tablets inscribed with garrison logs at Vindolanda, a fort close to Hadrian's Wall, clearly mention baths for iron preservation using bark mixtures. Consider this. A military manual from 2 millennia ago documents the very same chemical process that can protect your modern truck's chassis today. The Romans lacked microscopes, the periodic table, and any laboratory gear. Their strength lay in keen, rigorous observation and the insight to heed nature's lessons. Part 2. A worldwide occurrence. Convergent chemistry. What makes this tale remarkable is that Rome wasn't the only one facing the universal foe of rust, a menace to every iron-working society. Across the globe, human creativity discovered the same solution independently, despite being separated by centuries and vast oceans. Let's journey to feudal Japan, where the bond between iron and natural chemistry reached its pinnacle. Nowhere was this relationship more sophisticated than in the forges of Japanese swordsmiths. Crafting a katana wasn't mere metalwork. It was a spiritual art that might require months for a single blade. The smith would fold steel repeatedly, hammer, quench, and shape it, yet a seldom discussed challenge arises: a katana's composite design. The extremely sharp edge is made from hard, high-carbon steel, while the blade's back, or spine, consists of softer, more flexible iron. This softer iron was highly susceptible to the humidity of Japan's subtropical environment. Without treatment, the blade's core could quickly develop rust spots. The answer came within weeks: kakishibu, a fermented persimmon extract. Artisans would meticulously brush this tannin-packed liquid onto the soft iron core, just before the concluding clay tempering step. The tannins formed molecular bonds with the iron, generating a stable protective barrier even before the clay was added. This method was so effective and so secretive that each swordsmithing school's unique kakishibu recipe became a closely held trade secret, transmitted exclusively from master to apprentice. Let's now journey 6,000 miles westward to the Yoruba ironworkers in West Africa. They were expert metallurgists who had been smelting and forging iron since at least 500 BC, long before iron became widespread in most of Europe. The Yoruba battled a harsh environmental foe: a 6-month tropical monsoon season with humidity so severe that bare iron could show rust overnight. Their solution came from the forest: tannin extracts derived from sheer bark and acacia pods. They applied this dark liquid to hoe blades, machetes, and farming implements prior to the rains. The outcome: their tools withstood 6 months of unyielding tropical corrosion, whereas untreated iron disintegrated. In Isfahan, Persian metalworkers employed crushed pomegranate rind, containing over 28% tannic acid, to shield their famed sword blades from desert moisture. Far in South America, Mapuche artisans utilized quebracho tree extract, among the most tannin-rich woods globally, to protect iron implements. These tools were obtained through trade with Spanish colonists. Across 5 continents, countless cultures, and millennia apart, all reached an identical insight: specific plant chemicals prevent iron from rusting. This isn't folklore, it's convergent chemistry, the same molecular reality independently uncovered via observation, necessity, and inherited knowledge. Part 3. The Science: How Rust Transforms into Its Own Remedy. For 2,000 years, this understanding resided with artisans. It functioned, and that sufficed, yet no one could clarify the reason until 1813. Then, in a small Paris lab, French chemist Michel-Eugène Chevreul succeeded in isolating pure tannic acid. This was the first instance in documented history. He carefully recorded how it reacts with iron oxide and published his results in a leading European scientific journal. For the first time, modern science could articulate precisely what blacksmiths, tanners, and warriors had known since ancient times. Here's the chemistry, and it's truly elegant. Tannic acid vigorously reacts with iron, oxide, the flaky, orange, damaging substance known as rust, and transforms it into an entirely new material: iron, tannate, also referred to as ferric tannate. Iron tannate is a dark blue-black compound that is entirely water-insoluble. It neither flakes nor spreads. It doesn't compromise the metal beneath, and crucially, it forms a permanent molecular bond with the steel surface. Now, here's the critical distinction that alters everything, and I want you to grasp it fully. Chevrolet referred to this process as a chemical conversion rather than a surface coating. The gap between those two concepts is vast. Conventional coatings, such as the synthetic primers available at auto parts shops, merely sit atop the rust like a bandage. Eventually, moisture seeps into a tiny scratch. The coating peels off, rust reappears, and you're right where you started. You'd be reaching for your wallet, but conversion chemistry actually turns the rust into a protective layer. The very corrosion that was damaging your metal becomes the armor that guards it. The illness itself transforms into the remedy. Part 4. Proving Grounds of the Military. Around 1850, the British Royal Navy started systematic trials of tannic acid on iron hulls of warships moored at Portsmouth Harbor. The outcomes, recorded in Admiralty maintenance logs that remain stored at the National Archives in Kew, were extraordinary. Vessels that received tannin treatments exhibited far less hull corrosion across 5 years when compared to comparable ships coated with conventional lead-based paints. Those paints were both substantially more poisonous and considerably pricier. However, The ultimate challenge arrived with the most lethal war in human history, the outbreak of World War II in 1939. Corrosion escalated into a major military crisis. Sherman tanks transported across the moist, saline Atlantic reached North Africa, sporting rusted track links and locked turret rings. Rifles kept in the oppressive humidity of the Pacific Islands became stuck within weeks because tropical dampness degraded ordinary oil coatings. Any corroded item meant a soldier rendered unfit for battle, a vehicle unable to advance, a weapon incapable of firing. In 1941, the U.S. War Department initiated a materials conservation research effort at the Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. Scientists examined more than 200 diverse anti-rust substances on uncoated steel panels within accelerated salt spray cabinets. That effectively replicated many years of severe climatic stress in just a few weeks. Declassified in 1947, the findings are remarkable. A 4% concentration of tannic acid on previously rusted steel panels endured more than 1,000 uninterrupted hours of salt spray without any breakdown. The top synthetic rival failed at around 600 hours. The military reacted swiftly and on a large scale. Purchasing agents started acquiring tannic acid in large quantities for supply bases throughout 3 war zones. Jeep frames and ammo boxes received treatment. Rifle barrels, steel bridge parts, hinges of landing craft, all coated with the very same straightforward natural substance that Roman metalworkers had found in their tanning pits 2 millennia before. Pause and absorb that. The greatest armed force ever assembled, engaged in a conflict that would shape the course of civilization, opted for a $3 plant derivative, far ahead of any costly synthetic option that the chemical sector could provide, and the decision wasn't even competitive. Part 5. The reason you're unaware of this. Thus, if this chemical process shielded Roman blades, British naval vessels, and American armored vehicles, why isn't it found in every household garage? The explanation isn't some conspiracy theory. It's something more mundane, and frankly more infuriating. Pure economics. Post-1945, the United States chemical sector faced a dilemma. Firms such as DuPont and Sherwin-Williams had poured significant capital during the war years into production plants for synthetic petroleum-derived primers and anti-eye corrosion compounds. They had assembled sales forces, supply chains, and marketing divisions for goods that were 10 to 50 times pricier than natural tannic acid. A powder that anyone could blend in a coffee can for just $3 did not represent a market opportunity. That posed a risk to the complete business framework, and the business framework prevailed, not via any theatrical concealment, but through the unyielding arithmetic of profit margins. Tannic acid, an unpatentable natural compound, occurs in oak bark, tea leaves, chestnut wood, grape seeds, and many other plants. That's the key principle. It's impossible to create a subscription model for a powder cheaper than a fast food meal, or to build a franchise empire around a treatment anyone can apply in their own driveway with a foam brush. When a $500 dealership rust protection package relies on an active ingredient you can brew from black tea bags, the industry naturally protects its lucrative revenue stream from a cheap natural alternative. They simply repackaged it into those $15, $30 rust converter bottles found in hardware stores. Check the safety data sheet of any major brand. You'll see tannic acid as the main active ingredient. They take $3 of natural powder, dissolve it in petroleum solvents, and bottle it under a brand name. Then they sell it back at 10-15 times the cost. Post-1978 reformulation guidelines allowed manufacturers to use proprietary trade names for active ingredients, making this markup even easier. Tannic acid was rebranded as proprietary rust conversion compound or stabilized oxide modification technology. The same ancient molecule, just new terminology and a much higher price. Let me be honest, this actually makes the story more compelling. I'm not claiming tannic acid can replace every modern coating. Industrial environments with extreme chemical exposure, constant submersion, or temperatures above 300 degrees Fahrenheit need specialized products. Commercial rust converters include stabilizers and surfactants for easier application and longer shelf life. Those products have valid uses. But for 90% of everyday items like truck frames, hand tools, cast iron cookware, outdoor gear, and farm equipment, the active chemistry is tannic acid. The markup from actual cost to retail price in the U.S. auto parts aftermarket is staggering. This market generates over $300 billion yearly, with corrosion repairs making up about 30%, roughly $90 billion spent annually from our wallets. Few people realize the permanent fixed costs, just $3.45. Part 6. Reclaim the knowledge, the complete method. So let's reclaim control. Here's the precise method. This is the same chemistry the Romans used, the British Navy recorded, and the U.S. military applied on 3 continents. Step 1. Buy food-grade tannic acid powder. It's available at grocery stores, health food shops, or online bulk retailers. A 100-gram bag costs $3 to $5. That amount treats about 40 square feet of heavy rust. Step 2. Measure 4 grams of powder and dissolve in 100 milliliters of warm water. Stir gently until completely dissolved. The liquid will turn a deep, rich color like strong black tea. You've just created a rust conversion solution. Step 3. Use a wire brush or coarse steel wool to briefly scrub the rusty surface. Only remove loose, flaking material. Don't sand down to shiny metal. Crucially, the solution requires existing rust to function. Instead of making you scrape off the rust, it transforms the corrosion itself. Step 4. Use a foam brush, cotton cloth, or spray bottle to spread the mixture evenly over the rusted surface. Then wait 10 to 15 minutes. You'll observe the rust change from an ugly orange-brown to a rich dark blue-black. That visible shift is the molecular transformation occurring right in front of you. Iron 3 oxide is turning into iron 3 tannate as you watch. Here's a quick safety reminder. Though tannic acid is food safe and non-toxic, at this strength it can irritate skin and eyes. Wear simple rubber gloves and avoid getting it in your eyes. Just basic caution, nothing extreme. Allow the treated surface to air dry completely, roughly 2 to 4 hours, depending on temperature and humidity. Then repeat the process for a second coat. 2 layers guarantee complete conversion, deeper penetration, and lasting protection. After the second coat dries, the surface is permanently stabilized and ready for any finish you like. Paint, oil, wax, rubber undercoating, polyurethane. And here's a secret the store-bought products never tell you. The converted iron tannate layer actually adheres better to paint and top coats than perfectly clean, polished bare steel does. For your camping tools, axes, knives, hatchets, apply the conversion solution. Then finish with a thin layer of boiled linseed oil. For vehicle frames and undercarriages, use melted beeswax, or convert the rust, then coat with rubberized spray or a thin film of used motor oil. For cast iron cookware, apply a light coat to rust spots, let it convert, wash it, and reseason in the oven as you normally would. Just 100 grams of this powder handles an entire full-size truck frame, a complete set of outdoor tools, and a whole season of cast iron upkeep. That costs $3 and about 45 minutes of your time. Now compare that to a professional automotive rust treatment service that charges $500 to $800 for what, at the molecular level, is the exact same reaction. Every great civilization that worked with iron knew this secret. Roman legionaries understood it, standing beside oak bark tanning pits on the misty borders of their empire. Japanese swordsmiths understood it, carefully brushing persimmon lacquer onto folded steel by candlelight in their workshops. Yoruba ironworkers understood it, painting shea bark extract onto their machetes before the monsoon rains arrived. Even your own great-grandparents probably understood it, boiling oak galls in a cast iron kettle on the back porch every autumn. That was how they protected the farm tools that kept their families alive. Today, the $90 billion annual corrosion repair industry depends on you never learning any of those names. $15 bottles of rebranded tannic acid on hardware store shelves count on you never learning their names. You've turned the bottle over to read the ingredients, but here's the truth no markup can hide. Chemistry doesn't care about corporate branding strategies. Iron tannate never expires, and oak trees have never charged a licensing fee. The past isn't just a list of dusty dates and forgotten ruins, it's a survival manual, one that teaches us to recognize resources hiding in plain sight, to question why simple fixes come with complex price tags, and to remember that self-reliance isn't a lifestyle brand, it's the oldest human tradition there is. If this video changed how you see the rust on your axe head, your truck frame, or your cast iron pan, Share it each. Share chips away at the wall built around knowledge that was never anyone's to lock away. Subscribe to Historia Prime, and the next vault will open soon. And inside that vault is the one thing every camper throws away that could produce enough heat to survive an entire winter blackout. Stay curious, stay self-reliant, and I'll see you next time.